In 1949, the California Reined Cow Horse Association was formed in order to organize, promote, and preserve reined cow horse competition. Over the years, men and women have dedicated their lives to advancing the sport and growing it into what we enjoy today. And for that, the Reno Snaffle Bit Futurity honors some select members with a Lifetime Achievement Award to thank them for their incredible accomplishments and contributions. Because without their level of dedication, we wouldn't be sitting here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Smoky Pritchett. Born in Klamath Falls, Oregon, horses were a vital part of Smoky's life from the very start.
My dad got me started riding somewhere between 3 and 4 years old, and probably don't remember any time in my life without a horse. It was something I bonded with right off the bat. My first job was the hay-in crew, and my mother would make lemonade. I'd ride my horse out to the hay crew and give them something to drink. Everything was done on horses at that time. We hayed with horses, so we fed the cattle with horses. Different days, different times.
Smoky loved horses, but at that point, they were work tools. And that soon would change.
The ranches would have calf brandings around the 4th of July time. The cowboys from California area, from the Hollister, the San Juan group, would bring their bridle horses up to brand on. And then they had the contest of the stock horses at the Klamath Falls Rodeo. So that was my first introduction to the real good bridle horses of the day. I fell in love with that kind of horse, and from then on, I thought, this is what I want to make, this is what I want to do.
Smoky started learning all he could, but he remembers a conversation with a top trainer that showed just how tough progress would be.
He said, I spent my whole life learning how to do this. And he said, why should I just give it away? That was the thought of most people in those days, It took me a long time to learn it. Why am I just going to tell someone? It would take you forever. I'd have to sneak around at the horse show in the dark at night or early in the morning and watch somebody school their horse or whatever.
Smoky's dad was adamant he got a good education, so he headed south to Cal Poly. One summer while on vacation, he got a job breaking colts at a ranch outside Kansas City, and that offered a bit more education.
The fellow that managed the place there was good at fitting a halter horse. So I did learn there, and we went to the Denver Stock Show, and I saw Matlock Rose for the first time. And I followed Matlock around every spare minute that I had.
Smoky kept progressing, and soon a phone call came in that offered the opportunity of a lifetime that never developed. All because of roping on wet grass, a horse falling, and Smoky ending up with a severe spiral fracture in his leg.
About a week before that happened, Don Dodge called me up and offered me a job. That would be my first break in the horse training world, So then I break my leg a week before I'm supposed to go. And I'm in the hospital, and I call Don up the next day, and I tell him I broke my leg and I won't be able to come. And I was devastated.
Unable to ride for about a year, Smoky returned to Cal Poly, graduated, and headed to Cottonwood to start his training business.
Battled it out, trying to learn by myself. And I got some colts to ride, and $100 a month.
Smoky started training everything he could: Western pleasure, halter, rope horses, and anything that would pay the bills.
All along I'm in the AQHA show world, and I'm really wanting to be a reined cow horse trainer. That's my love. I've been trying to get there. I'd get to go to a show once in a while, but I didn't have the clientele that would just basically go to a reined cow horse show.
The AQHA circuit may not have been his goal, but over his lifetime, Smoky made 52 AQHA champions and 5 Supreme Champions. And at the quarter horse shows, he had contact with the greats of the day, especially Tony Amaral.
And getting a little bit of help from Tony when he was drunk, I'd buy him a few drinks and he'd tell me a little something. But it was always the thing, by golly, Smoky, I could fix that. I could fix that horse. Well, Tony, tell me how. Well, maybe someday.
Smoky eventually got some cow horses to train and show. And while at the Snaffle Bit Futurity, met Mr. Greg Ward, who had become a huge mentor.
And later on, we developed quite a friendship. And I learned a lot from Greg. Greg would help me. I think if you showed him that you were really in earnest, wanted to learn, he would teach.
A big break came when a new client came to Smoky and asked him to find him some horses. Smoky headed directly to the Jensens, the home of Doc Bar, and bought a little yearling named Doc Smellback. He also bought a 2-year-old son of King Fritz named Hyochex, and the following year made his first Snaffle Bit Futurity finals on him. But it was Doc Smellback who put Smoky's career into motion the following year at the Futurity.
My nervousness and my greenness, I look back at it and I probably should have won. And I think I ended up 7th and he was the champion stallion.
And the following year, they took the championship in the Hackamore at the Cow Palace.
Which was, in the day, the biggest thing you could do, And so I finally broke in.
But Doc Smellback's success as a breeding horse set Smoky's career in a new direction.
That kind of kept me at home from showing much, and so I kind of became a breeder and a trainer on the side, and it was something that I enjoyed, but I would have much rather got to go show more.
And Smoky did end up showing and winning. He had victories in state-held futurities in Oregon, Idaho, Washington, and Montana, and has won every major NRCHA event except for the Snaffle Bit Futurity, where he's placed 2nd and down through nearly every other finalist position. His love is the Hackamore, and he's won the Hackamore Classic 5 times and was the first rider to have won the Classic 2 years in a row on one horse, his favorite, Freckle-Faced Smoke.
I love the Hackamore, but when I was a kid, we rode everything in the Hackamore. We had a snaffle bit on the workhorses, and my dad said that's the only time you ride with a snaffle bit, when you bring the workhorses back from the field. For a horse to respect the Hackamore takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. It was my love in the horse training and then I got into the cutting at the quarter horse shows first, and then I got to show them in the NCHA, and I broke my hip, and I needed a hip replacement. The doctor said, you're too young, you're gonna have to wait 4 or 5 years because it'll only last 10 years. So it was a little tough to go down the fence and I got to dreading the turn, so I really liked the cutting. Anything to do with a cow, it fit me.
Smoky contributed greatly to the growth of the California Reined Cow Horse Association. And in 1991, as president, he worked on changing the club from a state association to a national association so that European owners and riders could participate as affiliates. He served on the board of directors for over 20 years as the head of the Judges Committee, focusing on educating judges and giving seminars to future judges and riders, while also serving on the Hall of Fame committee to help ensure the history of the sport is maintained. His great mare, Bonnie Smoke, is in the APHA and NRCHA Hall of Fame, right along with Smoky, who was inducted in 2004.
Probably 15 years ago, Harold Farron, very famous horse trainer, came up to me at the Snaffle Bit Futurity and sat down alongside of me and said, "You know what, Smoky? I remember seeing you years ago when you first started out. You were so crude," he says, "I didn't think you'd ever make it." And he said, "Now you've become one of the best." And it was quite a compliment to me.
There's a few names that stand out when you start talking about the history of our industry and the people who have dedicated their lives to building it into the sport we know today. One of those is Mr. Smoky Pritchett. Congratulations, Smoky, and thank you for all you've done for the reined cow horse.